Hey there. Matt, hey, Matt knows. You are too.
Really nice,
How does is that temperature in there? Is it?
Thanks for waiting, Matt.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, John.
Konnichiwa.
Alright,
Okay, so I'm going to start by throwing some Leach standardware pieces. I'm going to start with the egg cup and work my way through up to some bigger bits.
ぜひね、キックウィールなので、ケロクロなので、イギリス式のケロクロを見る機会、日本だとあんまりないと思いますので、ぜひ近くでご覧ください。
せっかくでございます。
How many years have you been at the Leach Pottery?
9 years.
9年。今なリーチ工房にいて
This month.
9年。This month?
Yeah, the 19th.
Oh, anniversary.
Yeah. It depends on that. Some stuff I still have to be careful. I've never made those. Like I've maybe made 12 showing people the shape, but I've never done a run for orders. Whereas like the bowls, I make quite regularly, so I don't really need to think about those. Mugs I can do really well, because I've made hundreds and probably thousands of those.
What real Japanese?
It was designed by Bernard Leach after he got back from Japan, and then it was made by a furniture maker called Woodley's in Cornwall. is important. You need to you can't just you need to squeeze. Also going all the way off the bottom. Otherwise you end up with a lump. If the mugs are softer, you only just a little bit of water.
で、マグの乾き具合によって水を足したり引いたり。
And the angle you pull at determines the finished angle of the handle. That's important to pay attention to, depending on what kind of handle you want.
どんな取っ手にしたいかによってどういうふうに引っ張るかっていうのを気にしなきゃいけないんですけれども。
Very different shape. Let's do one more. Done that a bit quicker.
That's encouraging.
And maybe a bit too close.
It's interesting to see how you don't rework the bottom connection of the.
Should we have a go?
Yep.
Move over
じゃあ
here
こ
then.
ちらで取ってつけよう。
Well done.
Okay, thank you very much.
はい、じゃあ撮りますよ。はい、はい、3、2、1。
なるほどね。
I've seen pictures of people using them, but I didn't know if you guys use them all the time.
There's like enough drawer.
I think so, yeah. They have.
いや良かったです。人の違う人の仕事の仕方がなんか特にリーチのトレードウィールがちょっと面白くて
実際制作過程を見るのは初めてだったので、なんかすごいちょっと敷居が高いイメージはあったんですけど、なんか意外と自分の好きな音楽をかけておしゃべりしながら楽しく制作されてて、実際見てイメージが変わりましたね。はい、
イギリス式の蹴りろくろでなんか原始的なプリミティブな作り方を見れて、手つきとかもなかなか見ることができないものだと思ったので、この益子町でこういった機会が身近にあるっていうのがとても光栄だなって思ったし、まあ僕自身も学び手なのでとても勉強になっていい機会でした。
大変お待たせいたしました。皆様こんにちは。こんにちは。で今日はですね、これとマットさんのスクリーンに乗って、ご説明とともにですね、ギャラリートークを切らせていただきますけれども、そちらの方の進行はですね、私ども当館の工房を担当いただいております。私どもちょうど皆様から目の前に立っております信頼でございますので、の方で進行を務めさせていただきます。
改めまして工房担当の木村と申します。よろしくお願いします。で、ちょっとマットさんに益子の土についてどうだったかっていうのを聞いていこうと思います。
じゃあ、first question for you. First of all, congratulations on your exhibition.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございます。
And his question was, all the works here are you made clay from Mashiko.
Yeah.
How was the clay in Mashiko?
I loved all of it. I really enjoyed using the clay. I love the sandy grogginess of the clay here. I love that all the different clays made different pots. So it was really nice for me to have such a variety of clay to use.
ありがとうございます。その工房では益子の土っていうのを5種類用意してるんです。組合の赤土と波土、あとは新福寺の川田さんっていう方が作られている赤土と波土と、あとは組合で原土として売ってる北小屋新原土っていうのを、5種類の土を使ってるんですけど、その中でもどの土が一番良かったとかってありますか？
Did you have any favorite clay from Mashiko?
The Kitagoya, I think, was my favourite, and the ochre, and those two mixed together. So sort of three clays.
例えばなんかその2つの、北小屋だったり、あるいは混ぜた土を使った作品でなんかお気に入りの作品とかってあったりしますか？
So you liked the mixture of ochre clay and Kitagoya clay?
Yeah.
Is there any pot in here you made that you like?
Any pots in here that I like?
So with using that clay, mixture
Using that clay?
Ochre clay and Kitagoya.
Yeah, I guess the sake bowl, what are they called?
Tokuri? Tokuri, sake bottle and the sake cup.
That's a mix of that clay. And this is a mix of that clay.
今ここで指さしてくれた茶碗とその動画が流れてるところの隣のとっくりとぐいの実ですねが、その土で作ったものだよっていうふうに今教えてくださいました。
ありがとうございます。で、なんかさっきとっくりとか、あとこの茶碗とかをマットさんが教えてくれたんですけど、生花店を見ると本当にいろんなバラエティーの作品を 作られたなっていうのがこう自分の印象で、ちょっとマットさんにお聞きしたいのが、この生花店をするにあたってのなんかこうコンセプトだったり、あるいはなんかこうイメージみたいのってあったりしますか？
今見てですか？その前来る前から。
今見てです。
今見て。As you can tell, there are so many varieties of pots here.
Yeah.
And when you see it, do you have any concept for this exhibition?
I didn't come with a concept, but I think my idea was to try and express my experience here through what I made, and I feel like with what's in here and in the studio together, you do get an idea of that. So I think I've managed to achieve that, maybe.
本当にこう自分がこう対応して今までの作家さんの中でこう一番こう、作品を作ったような気がするんですけど、なんかどのくらい作ったかとかって自分で数えてたりしますか？
Do you know how many pieces did you make?
Just over 800.
800点以上作られた。
なんか本当にこう小生というか土作りとか
大変でしたね。
気がするんですけど、でも本当になんかマットさんが朝のなんか大体自分が8時半に来るんですけども、その前には工房の鍵が開いてて、で夜帰る時も多分こう本当に11時とか12時ぐらいまで作業をしてましたよね。
You are working from before Koki comes to the studio, after he left, until like 11 p.m.
11, 12,
Do you?
Yeah.
Is this your usual schedule?
Yeah. So normally I work 9 to 5
at the
Leach, and then I'll go home, make dinner, put the kids to bed, hang out with my wife for a bit, and then go back to the studio, and then do that pretty much every day.
なんかすごいなと思うんですけど、
体力がね。
そのこう何がそうさせると思いますか？なんでそんなにこう頑張れるんですか？
Why you can keep that style? Why work like that? You can work like that.
I don't think it's a choice. Once I started doing this, I think it kind of just took hold of me, and then I've constantly got things going around in my head, and if I don't get them out, I'll lose them. So
you are not deciding until this time you are going to do it?
No, sometimes I'll go and it's not going well and I'll just pack in and go home, but sometimes it's going really well and I'll be there till 2 a.m.
If you have something in your head, you gotta get it out.
Yeah, and I need to be there until I've got that sketch or that prototype, so that I can then continue to work on it. It's actually, I think it's an addiction.
ちょっと中毒っぽい感じが自分でもするっていうふうにおっしゃってます。
でもなんかその結果がここにこう現れてるのかなっていうふうに思うんですけど、なんかちょっと聞きたいのはこの本当に800点ぐらいいっぱい作ったと思うんですけど、その中でこう1つか2つお気に入りのポットをあげるとしたら、例えばここだとどれになりますか？
この中で。So you were making over 800 pieces, and you were like working like crazy in a way. And if you choose, you have to choose your favorite 1 or 2 parts in this room.
Yeah.
Which would it be?
I think the Cassetto and Shino Chawan are probably my favorite in here. If I had to choose, but I like them all in different ways for different reasons.
Yeah,
because they were all attempts at something different.
Yeah, those parts here, you selected from
the curators selected.
I see.
And then I laid out what was left in the studio. so that people could see the reality of my madness.
OK
そしたらちょっとここで益子の話からちょっとマットさんが普段イギリスでどういう作品を作っているのかだったり、マットさんがこれまでどういう陶芸家としての歩みをしてきたかっていうのをちょっとスライドでお話ししていただきたいと思います。
Okay, now we are moving on to your presentation.
Ooh, okay. Here we go. So welcome and thank you for coming to my result exhibition. This slideshow I put together to give a brief understanding of me and my work's development since I started learning to throw on the 19th of October 2015 when I became the second of the new Leach apprentices. So I grew up in St Ives, which is an old fishing village in Cornwall in the southwest of the UK. It's now become a seaside resort and heavily relies on tourism. Until I was 13, we lived in one room at my grandparents' house because both my parents were working. We spent a lot of time being looked after by my granddad, and this is where I first started making and being creative. To keep me busy and quiet, he would sit with me and we would draw and paint from books he had about birds or fishing boats and lifeboats, or we'd sit and make things like stools from wood or medieval knights' weapons from cardboard or helmets and boats from paper mache. Early on, this gave me a unique perspective and a way of relating to everything around me, and looking back at it now, I think that's where my ability to absorb information visually by watching and then doing myself came from. I grew up working in kitchens from a young age because we didn't have much money, so if I wanted things I had to buy them with my own money, and that gave me a good work ethic and an ability to enjoy working hard, and work became a hobby for me. I went to university in Canterbury in Kent and studied fine art and painting and gained a lot of practical skills artistically during this time, which further added to the way that I process information and relate to the things that I produce, developing the way I express myself, ways of working that have fed into the way I make bodies of work now. After university, I returned home to Cornwall and fell back into working in kitchens again. I started applying the skills I gained leading up to this and changed the way I learned and worked and thought about cooking, and this helped me rise quickly through the kitchen hierarchy, eventually leading me to work in restaurants in London and Australia before returning home to run kitchens. In 2013, the Leach Pottery, along with the clothing company Sea Salt, launched an apprenticeship programme. My mum, knowing that I liked to collect pots and was artistic, told me about it, and I applied. After 2 days of trials and interviews, I came a close second to Callum Trudgeon, who had a background in craft, which helped tip him over on me. In 2015, they made a call for a second apprentice. I applied again, and this time was successful. Very early on, I found that working with clay clicked with me. It felt like it was what I was supposed to be doing. And I've spent nearly every evening and weekend alongside my working day at the Leach in the studio, learning, progressing to develop my work, and emptying nearly the constant stream of ideas that have been filling my head since I started. My first year was spent making thousands of tiles, hand cut and painted for the floors of the Sea Salt clothing stores, and throwing egg cups, alongside being responsible for making clay and washing ash. That's an early picture of me glazing in my second year with Cat Wheeler.
That's you?
Yep.
Okay. Did you recognize it?
So that would be late 2016, 2017.
Okay.
That's a selection of the work we make at the Leach Pottery. So now we'll get to my work. This is a selection of the first work I made for a show 7 months into my apprenticeship. I think you can see it's a bit everywhere. Lots of directions and things I'm trying. Still kind of what I'm like today. Yeah, I'm kind of on theme with today's show. But you can see at this point my shapes are quite weak because the reference in my mental library is small, and I haven't had access, well, I haven't given myself access to a lot of pots at this point. I did a lot of brush work early on. The plate at the bottom right was the first thing that I made that I thought was good at the time, and it just came from me, and that's when I started to realise that just doing and trying things organically without fear of not being good was where all the good stuff was going to come from. And this was a point, the first point I remember, a big developmental leap. So more brushwork, lots of brushwork.
ちょっとその当時の作品を見ていただいてます。
This is about a year and a half in.
これが1年半ぐらい経った時です。
The first potter whose work I saw in real life at the Leach, and that became an early favourite, was Shinsaku Hamada, particularly the shape of his Unomis, which in making this slideshow and going through pictures from the beginning I can see is kind of a constant through my work in terms of the shape and form, here and hereabouts, variations slightly, but sort of played through my filter. You can see similarities in those, I think. There again. So in 2018 I was selected by the British Council to take part in a trip to Uzbekistan. I spent 3 weeks there touring the pottery towns of the whole country, and ended up taking part in a workshop with potters from those towns in the capital of Tashkent. It was a really amazing learning experience, but I was super out of my depth skill level wise at that point, and I was still an apprentice. In June 2018 I was selected to become a Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust apprentice, and they helped fund the last year of my apprenticeship, and since I've become a Quest Scholar. Look up again. These are from my apprenticeship graduation show.
これがその、研修期間の卒業展の作品だそうです。
Sorry about pictures. Okay, in 2019 I was invited to show work in Minnesota as part of the St. Croix Valley Pottery Tour. That's a picture of me sat at Warren Mackenzie's treadle wheel. This was another big push for my skills, seeing variation in shapes and styles there. And on returning, I started playing around with a lot of thrown and altered shapes, faceting, making boxes, and at this point my shape references increased a lot, and it was starting to show at the work I was making at this point. So you can see a bit faceting, funky jars, altering shapes. Right. In 2020 I was approached by a gallery in Mayfair for large works, and this gave my work another big jump because I was able to practice and develop big works in terms of throwing and decorating. And I think at this point my use of pattern becomes better, and this again increased my mental library and abilities to interpret shapes. Big box. Okay, so these last slides are a selection of the 136 pots that I sent to Gallery St Ives in October for an exhibition opening there in Tokyo on the 7th of December. So this is what was, before I got here, current work. So I spent the last year developing and playing with slipware. I've been reading a lot about a Spanish artist, Anton Tapies, because I was drawing a lot more and I was getting interested in line. And I've been trying in stoneware reduction and a bit in soda to get that sort of effect, but I wasn't getting what I wanted in terms of line. And I found that in slipware I could capture the immediacy and the pencil-like line that I was after, trying to create a good atmosphere with few lines or marks. Plus I get a great deal of satisfaction out of doodling and emptying my thoughts. So I just really enjoy making cups and bowls, so there's lots of those. These are soda-fired pots that I made, inspired by the landscape of Cornwall, and trying to capture the atmosphere of the place I live in the pots I create, just in the same sort of way I would with painting. And porcelain, because I like the nature of the clay porcelain, like I was saying earlier about how the clays dictate the kind of pots I make. I feel like porcelain really portrays, it's got personality, which is important, I think, for me in my pots, or any pots actually. And I think the shapes that I love to make and revisit over and over again come quite easily from porcelain. And I love just, you know, working on them and improving them. Jars, I like making these jars. I've made these as well throughout from the beginning earlier on, and I think they're finally getting somewhere. And plates, back in slipware. I like making plates because they're again a really nice surface for decoration. And that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope that was in some way interesting.
お聞きいただいてありがとうございました。少しでも興味深かったら嬉しいなというふうにおっしゃってくださっています。Thank you very much.
なんかさっきのスライドを見て、ウズベキスタンに行ったり、アメリカに行ったりして、いろいろその都度、新しい形を挑戦してきたっていうふうに思うんですけど、その益子で挑戦した新しい形だったり、なんかテクニックみたいなのってありますか？
Yeah, loads. Everything that I tried here, other than throwing, was new. Wax resist was new. Layering glazes I hadn't really done before. Cutting on the wheel, faceting on the wheel. Kahiki ware. Hand carving feet and making chawans. Yeah, lots of new stuff.
なんかその新しいことに挑戦する中で、益子の陶芸家さんとの出会いとかもあったと思うんですけど、印象に残っている出会いとか、なんか思い出の出会いみたいなのがあったりしますか
？Yeah, a few. Well, I guess seeing Shugo Takeuchi's work and getting to meet him at the gallery, meeting Midori Noto was a big one. Visiting Ken's was a big push for my work. Getting to go around the Hamilton Museum with Tomo, I left there with like my face aching from grinning. And getting to go to the deputy director's house and handle his Aribe ware collection. They're probably the standouts from the trip.
ありがとうございます。で、その益子でいろんな人と出会ったり、いろんなものを見たりしたと思うんですけど、マットさんがその益子に来る前と、今で益子の印象とかって変わったりしました？
Yeah, my impression was pretty limited because what my idea of Mashiko was based around the sort of Leach history, the relationship between Shoji and Bernard, but with no real idea of what this place was like, which was why I wanted the residency to be about the discovery of Mashiko. So yeah, it has changed, but it's more grown than changed.
なんか多分この2ヶ月の益子での滞在を通してまたこうマットさんの工夫だったりやりたいことっていうのも変わってくるのかなと思うんですけど、なんか今の段階でこれからやりたいことだったり今後の目標みたいなのってありますか
？I think I'll keep doing it all and then see that will eventually lead to something new. But yeah, I need to get back and try and get back to the level I'm at here with this stuff at home, with the different materials and clays, and then yeah, see where that goes from there.
You're gonna need some time to
Process.
digest.
Yeah, digest. Yeah.
なんかここからマットさんの工夫だったりやりたいことがまたどう変わっていくのかなっていうのが本当に楽しみだなと思います。今日はありがとうございました。
We are looking forward to see what's next.
ありがとうございます。Me too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's this first time. Second time. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then they start getting making all of your favorite work. It's I think this is and let it sort of let it brew and then and scratch it into this big like plate sculpture pieces. I was like, I want to get some thick slip on and carve into it.
So you have to make bigger.
To empty out my brain. This is like a sketch.
Thank you. Bye. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.